Devin, this discrimination case is a big one. What's the expected impact of this ruling?
Well, a very interesting case, Diane. This involved alleged reverse discrimination by a straight woman alleging being passed over for a job because she was not gay by a gay employer. And what the Supreme Court unanimously said today in this opinion by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is that the standard is the same no matter whether you're in a minority group or a majority group alleging discrimination. It's the same test for everybody under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which of course prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex or sexual orientation. What had happened in this case is Marlene Ames, the plaintiff, who was seeking to sue the Ohio Department of Youth Services, where she had worked for 15 years, brought her claims to court. They were tossed out by a federal appeals court that said she had to prove something higher because she was a white straight woman. She had to show some background circumstances in order to even get in the courthouse door. But what the Supreme Court said today is it's a level playing field for everybody under Title VII, no matter who you are. You simply have to show a plausible case of discrimination, and then you can bring your claim.
So, James, what stands out to you from the court's opinion in this case?
Well, Devin's summary there, Diana, is extraordinarily thorough, as always. The thing that I would say here is that this is, in a sense, the Supreme Court was ruling today as to a Court of Appeals decision that had applied not in all of the circuits across the country, but in many of the circuits, roughly half of the circuits across the country, in interpreting the Civil Rights Act. There was a 1981 decision in the D.C. Circuit that essentially said that if you were claiming discrimination, but you were not a member of a historically discriminated against group, so here a white straight woman, that you needed to provide additional background circumstances, that there was essentially an additional predicate hurdle that you needed to clear that wouldn't necessarily be a hurdle that an individual who was from one of those groups would need to have cleared. And so the Supreme Court, in addition to the technical aspects of this decision, essentially, and particularly I think because this is a unanimous decision, is saying that whatever the disagreements that still remain with respect, and there are many, with respect to how the Civil Rights Act applies and how the Civil Rights Act applies, particularly to so-called reverse discrimination suits, the Supreme Court, in essence, today, in a unanimous ruling, as Devin said, by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, said, basically, we are no longer in 1981. At least with respect to federal discrimination law, the court is saying, this is no longer 1981. The same standards need to apply. And to be clear, this does not mean that Ames wins her case. It just means she gets another chance to press the case without that hurdle.